He was a warrior born out of time, a man who firmly believed he had walked the earth before as a Greek hoplite, a Roman legionnaire, a cavalry commander under Napoleon, and finally as the most fierce, relentless, and controversial tank general of the Second World War. George Smith Patton Jr. was not merely a military officer. He was a living thunderstorm of iron, fire, and unyielding ambition, a man whose very existence seemed tailored for the apocalyptic scale of mid-20th century warfare. Born in 1885 into a wealthy Virginia family with deep military roots, young George was raised on tales of heroic valor, chivalry, and battlefield glory, instilling in him a lifelong obsession with military destiny. Dyslexic at a time when the condition was poorly understood, Patton compensated for his academic struggles with immense willpower, rigorous physical training, and an insatiable desire to excel, eventually graduating from West Point and competing in the 1912 Stockholm Olympics in the modern pentathlon. His early career was marked by a dramatic flourish when, during the Pancho Villa expedition of 1916, he led a daring motor assault, killing Villa's top lieutenant and strapping the body to the bonnet of his car, a sensational act that thrust him into the national spotlight and presaged the hyper-aggressive tactical style that would define his life. When the United States entered World War I, Patton was among the first to recognize the terrifying, war-altering potential of the newly invented battle tank, founding the U.S. Army Tank Corps and personally leading light tanks into the blood-soaked mud of the Meuse-Argonne offensive, where he was wounded while fearlessly standing in the line of enemy fire. Yet it was the crucible of World War II that transformed George S. Patton into an immortal legend of modern warfare. Following the catastrophic American defeat at Kasserine Pass in North Africa, General Dwight D. Eisenhower turned to Patton to restore discipline and aggressive spirit to a shaken US-2 Corps. Dressed in immaculate uniforms, sporting custom ivory-handled revolvers, and demanding absolute precision, Patton arrived like a whirlwind, instilling ruthless discipline and transforming demoralized soldiers into a ferocious fighting force that swept Axis troops out of Tunisia. His lightning assault across Sicily during Operation Husky showcased his signature strategy, relentless speed, flanking maneuvers, and an uncompromising refusal to let the enemy consolidate their positions. Yet his triumph was shattered by his own explosive temperament when he slapped two hospitalized soldiers suffering from battle fatigue, accusing them of cowardice. The resulting scandal outraged the public, strained diplomatic ties, and led to his temporary removal from command, demonstrating that the very qualities that made him an unstoppable force on the battlefield made him a liability in the delicate realm of high-stakes wartime politics. Ironically, the Germans respected and feared Patton so deeply that they refused to believe Allied high command would bench their finest general. Allied intelligence brilliantly capitalized on this by placing Patton in command of a dummy force in England during Operation Fortitude, convincing the German high command that the primary invasion of Europe would target the Pas de Calais rather than Normandy. When Patton was finally unleashed back into action weeks after D-Day at the head of the U.S. Third Army, he executed one of the most astonishing armored drives in military history, bursting through the German lines, covering hundreds of miles of French territory at breakneck speed, and liberating thousands of towns while bypassing enemy strongholds. His command philosophy was brutally simple: attack, attack, and when in doubt, attack again, famously declaring that an active plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. When the German army launched its desperate, surprise winter counteroffensive in the Ardennes, the Battle of the Bulge encircling the 101st Airborne Division at Bastogne, Patton performed a tactical miracle. In the freezing cold of December 1944, he pivoted his entire Third Army 90 degrees in less than 72 hours, marching across snowbound, ice-covered roads to hit the German flank, relieve the beleaguered defenders of Bastogne, and shatter the last major offensive of the Third Reich. Beyond the thunder of his armor, Patton was a deeply complex, eccentric, and tormented soul, a poet who wrote verse about battle, a mystic who claimed to experience visions of past lives, and a devout man who once ordered a chaplain to compose a prayer for good weather so his army could resume killing Germans. As the war in Europe drew to its bloody close and Allied armies uncovered the unbearable atrocities of Nazi concentration camps, Patton pressed relentlessly eastward, openly advocating that the Western powers should not stop at Berlin, but instead keep marching eastward to crush the Soviet Union while the massive American war machine was still fully mobilized. His fiery anti-communist rhetoric, combined with politically tone-deaf statements regarding denazification in occupied Bavaria, once again put him at bitter odds with political leaders in Washington and Allied command, leading to his removal as commander of his beloved Third Army. Stripped of the battlefield that gave his existence meaning, Patton grew despondent, expressing a eerie premonition that he would not survive the peace, famously remarking that a soldier ought to die from the last bullet of the last battle of the war. In a cruel twist of fate, the legendary warrior who had survived machine gun bullets, artillery barrages, and tank battles across 2 continents was mortally injured in a mundane automobile accident on a foggy road near Mannheim, Germany, in December 1945. Paralyzed from the neck down, Patton lingered for 12 agonizing days before passing away quietly in his sleep, leaving behind a complex legacy as a flawed genius, a terrifying opponent, and arguably the greatest field commander America ever produced, a man who lived, fought, and died by the sword, forever etched into the annals of history as the ultimate military warrior.